Hello students. In the first video, we have discussed the different issues in economics. What is economics? How just does it come to its current form, and what are some methodologies in economics, and so on. We have seen those things. Now, today we shall basically, today we shall look at scarcity, choice, opportunity cost, and production possibility frontier. Let's start from scarcity. As I defined scarcity in the first video, we said it is one of the basic reasons for foundation of economics, because we said resources are scarce and human needs and wants are unlimited, and those two reasons were necessitated the foundation of economics. So scarcity refers to the fact that all economic resources that a society needs to produce goods and services are finite or limited in supply. And what we want to consider is their limitedness in supply should be expressed in its relation to human wants. So scarcity reflects the imbalance between our wants and the means to satisfy them. Resources basically are classified into free resources and scarce resources. So free resources are resources uh, that we can't get them with zero price as per our desire at that price. So resource is said to be free if the amount available to society is greater than the amount people desire at zero price. So in this case, we have two criteria. The first criteria to be a free resource is that it should be it's we should get that resource for free. So that is the first criteria, but it is not the sufficient criteria that we have for being free resource. Uh, but we have the second criteria, that is the amount of that resource should be greater than the amount people desire at that zero price. First, it should be found at zero price. Secondly, and the supply of that resource should be greater than the people's desire at that level of price. So if a resource is if it has such a characteristics, then we say free resource. For example, we can exemplify sunshine, because sunshine we can just get it for free, and not only just we get for free, but we can get it in abundant form. So we can have as much as we want at that zero price. And the other classification of resources is scarce or economic resources. A resource is said to be scarce or economic uh, when the amount available to society is less than what people want to have at zero price. So in this case, we have two criteria as we did for free resources. One is every resource that we get by paying or just sacrificing something is a scarce or economic resource. But even if we get that resource, a resource with zero price, but if we don't get it with the with our desire, that means I'm referring the amount, then if the amount is less than the amount people want to have at zero price, then still that resource is scarce. So all resources that are got by sacrificing something or paying something are scarce resource. But even if those resources are found for free, if the amount, the supplied amount is less than the people's desire, then still that resource is very, scarce resource. The following resources are scarce resource. All types of human resources, maybe manual, intellectual, skilled, or specialized labor, are just called uh, scarce resources. So labor, we just classify that into labor. Most natural resources like land, minerals, clean water, forests, and so on are just uh, scarce resource. All types of capital resources, machines, intermediate goods, um, infrastructure, and so on. All types of entrepreneur resources are also. We classify economic resources into four. Basically, we just classify in four. Just have labor. We just have labor, land, capital, and entrepreneurship. So when you come to labor, it is a physical and mental efforts of human beings in the production and distribution of goods and services. And any payment, any kind of payment uh, for labor is just wage. It may be monthly payment, daily payment, contract payments, or allowances, or whatever. The payment for labor is regarded as wage. The other resource we have is land. It is the natural resources or all the free gifts of nature usable in the production process are just called land. So maybe for your terminologies, maybe for your language, land is just it may be, but in economics, we don't only restrict ourselves when we define land to only land, but any resource on the land, free gift of nature. So the reward for land is rent. The other one is capital. Capital, just all the manufactured inputs that can be used to produce other goods and services. It may be equipment, it may be machinery, it may be transport, communication facilities, and so on. So the reward is interest. So any kind of payment, maybe uh, just the payment for buying, purchasing, or uh, a payment for monthly payment as interest, and all those payments are just included as interest. And the other one is entrepreneurship. Of course, entrepreneurship is somehow it is somehow we, so it has some relationship with labor, but it has uh, of course great difference. It is a special type of human talent that helps to organize and manage as a factors of production to produce goods and services. So it is what? It is special type of human talent. Special type of human talent. And it organizes and manages other factors of production, labor, land, capital. It is an organizer. It is a manager. It manages and organizes. And it takes the risk of making losses, and the reward is profit. The reward is profit. Now, entrepreneurs are individuals who organize factors of production to produce goods and services. They, as we said, they organize as a factors of production. They organize labor, capital, land, and they produce goods and services. Not only produce, but it may be distribution of those goods and services. Anyhow, they organize those factors of production in the production process, and there are people who make basic business policy decisions like what I'm going to produce, what I'm going to use in that production process, and for whom that I'm going to sell. So those policy decisions and by what price I'm going to sell and so on. They make those all basic policy decisions. And there are people who introduce new inventions and technologies into business practice. This is a very critical component of entrepreneurs. because they just get new inventions, new technologies, and they have incentives for that through patent rights or just the copyrights and so on. So they have incentives for that, and they have ability to invent and to bring technologies into the business practices. They develop a way of production or new products and so on. And there are people who look for new business opportunities, new business opportunities. They just usually look opportunities from problems. The layman, the common people may look the problem, the challenge, but the entrepreneurs look opportunities from those challenge, from those opportunities. And entrepreneurs are also people who take risks of making losses. It is obvious that there is risk of making losses, losses, but they have ability to risk of calculated, just taking calculated risks. Okay, now our main point is just to discuss about scarcity. So we have to differentiate between scarcity and shortage. Scarcity does not mean shortage. Maybe in our local language, we may refer that, but scarcity and shortage in concept, they have differences. Scarce is when the amount available is less than the amount people wish to have at their prices. So we defined it if uh, those resources are found with payment, then that resource is scarce, we say. So nowadays you can see every resource just just most of those resources are actually scarce because we don't get those resources for free. Even if we get those resources for free, but we don't have opportunity to get that as our desire regarding the amount. But shortage is when people are unable to get the amount, where they want at the prevailing or on the ongoing price. Shortage is where it is when people want to buy something at the prevailing price and the ongoing price. They know the price, they want to just accept the price they want to buy. But when you get when they go to the markets and so on, they don't get that commodity, that good and service. So in that case, we say there is shortage for that commodity. Now the basic difference is that shortage is a specific problem, right? Shortage is a specific problem. Shortage is a specific problem, while scarcity is a universal problem. It is a universal problem. For example, if there is a, shortage of cement in Ethiopia, for example, it may not be necessarily uh, happen in Kenya or something like that. So it is specific. It is specific. It may shortage may happen in one area, but it may not be happen in other areas. So shortage is specific, but scarcity happens all over the world. Whether you go to America or Ethiopia or other countries or other places, you cannot get resources without payment. Meaning those scarcity. I mean those resources are what? Scarce. And secondly, shortage is a short-term problem. Shortage is a short-term problem, while scarcity is what? Everlasting problem. Because for example, if there is a shortage of sugar just this year, it does not necessarily mean that the shortage will continue for next year. It may be solved. But regarding scarcity, it has been there, and it will be there. Just it is everlasting problem. It continues even for the future. Okay, very nice. So we have discussed about the scarcity and what are resources included under resources that are scarce. Now let's go to choice. Let's go to choice. Scarcity implies choice, and the choice implies cost. That means whenever choice is made, an alternative opportunity is sacrificed, and that is opportunity cost. Now, choice, for example, if you want to join, for example, you are a first year student. Now, after you complete your freshman courses, you may want to join chemistry or physics and so on. Now, you cannot do both at a time. You cannot join physics and chemistry at a time just without extra cost. You cannot make that. So it means that there is scarcity of resources. So you have to choose, right? You have to choose one. There is choice. There is choice. And when you choose, there is sacrificed one, right? For example, if you choose chemistry, then you lose physics one, right? You cannot make them both without extra cost. So that the lost one, the sacrificed one is called opportunity cost. Maybe uh, uh, we have that. Then scarcity implies choice, and choice implies. Okay, then what is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost is the amount of values of the next best alternative that must be sacrificed in order to obtain the other product, right? One more unit of a product, one more unit of a product. For example, suppose a country spends all of its limited resources on the production of clothes or computer. If a given amount of resources can produce either 1 meter of clothes or 20 units of computer, then the cost of 1 meter of clothes is the 20 units of computer that must be sacrificed in order to produce a meter of clothes. So now, if you want to produce one, you lose the other, right? And that one, the lost one, the foregone one, or the sacrificed one is called what? Opportunity cost. But we have to note that when we say opportunity cost, one thing, it is measured in goods and services, but not in monetary terms. For example, if the resources we have in this case is 100,000, 100,000 birr, then I want to say my opportunity cost is 100,000 birr. I don't say like that. Yes, I say my opportunity cost of producing 1 meter clothes is 20 units of computers. That means we just put in terms of goods and services. Secondly, it should be in line with the principle of substitution, and you may have many alternatives, but now we are regarding opportunity cost. We consider the next best alternative. You may have the third best alternative, the fourth best alternative, and so on. But we only consider the second best alternative, and it should be in line with the substitution. For example, if your choices are chemistry and physics, then you may not consider history. And if your choices are history and economics, for example, you may just physics may not be your opportunity cost. So it should be in line with the. Now let's come back to the assumptions of drawing the production possibility curve. The first assumption is the quantity as well as the quality of economic resources available for use during that given year is fixed. Because if the resources, land, labor, whatever, increases, then it is another thing. So production possibility curve assumes fixed resources in terms of quality and in terms of quantity. The second assumption is there are two broad classes of output to be produced over the year. Because if we don't have more than two classes of goods, then we cannot analyze this in two coordinated plane. So we have only two broad classes of goods. The third assumption is the economy is operating at full employment, and it is achieving full production. That means every resource is just employed in an efficient way. For example, if you have machinery that works for 18 hours, then it is working for 18 hours. If it is working less than 18 hours, for 14 or 15 or 12 hours per day, then that resource is not fully employed. And if the labor force is working is assumed to work for 8 hours, and if it is working for less than that, then that resource is not fully employed, and so on. So our basic assumption in this is that all resources are just at full employment. The fourth assumption is technology does not change during the year, because if technology changes, it is another case. The production possibility curve will shift, right? If the technology changes, if there is technological advancement, then the PPF curve will shift up outward. But that is another analysis. Our analysis for the production possibility curve depends on that. The other assumption we have is some inputs are better adapted to production of one good than to the production of the other good. It means that, for example, if your labor force, capital, and other resources are producing food, for example, maize, then can you just bring those resources to the production of computer without any cost? No, you cannot do that, because you need extra cost for maybe for training, maybe for exchange. Just you may sell the tractors and substitute for the machinery that helps you produce computers. So some resources, some inputs are adapted to the production of one good than the other. So we have those assumptions. In this graph, in this curve, in this production possibility curve, in order to gain 500 computers, you lose 80 food of production, right? 80 metric tons food production, as can be seen. That means 420 minus 500 is 80. That is a sacrificed one, and the gained one is 500 minus 0. So in order to get 500 extra computers, you forgone 80 metric ton food production in this case. Now, when you go from point B to point C, just your addition in gain is 500. That is 1000 minus 500, right? So you gain extra 500 computers production. Now, in order to get extra 500 computers, you lose or you forgone 100 metric ton food production. That is 320 minus 420. So you can see that just to get 500 computers, in the first place, you lost 80 metric ton food. But now you lost what? You are losing what? 100 metric ton food production. So this shows increasing opportunity cost. The opportunity forgone is increasing. And what is the reason? The reason is that economic resources are not completely adaptable to alternative uses, and that is a specialization effect. Of course, I discussed earlier, if you want to transfer your production from food production to computer production, then it is not for free. I mean, the substitution is not for free. You have to train some labor, you have to buy some machinery, and you may sell some part of the machineries and buy other machineries, and that have extra cost. So the reason for law of increasing opportunity is specialization effect. So opportunity cost can be calculated like it is the amount of net best, next best alternative sacrificed, just amount sacrificed over amount of goods gained. So just you can calculate like that. Okay, now if economic growth is there or because of technological advancement and so on, then the PPF curve can change, can shift upward. So if the technological advancement happens or employed in both food production and production, then the new PPF curve will be like this, will be a parallel shift in the production. So if that technology applies for both production goods.